With a couple big names now, free agents and more, this is Wrestling Hub. My name is John and you're watching the Wrestling Report. Before we get into the rest of the video, make sure you subscribe to Wrestling Hub and turn on all notifications to stay up to date with everything in the world of pro wrestling. Also, don't forget to follow us on Instagram at Wrestling Hub Official and follow us on Twitter at Wrestling_Hub. Recalling his match against Ric Flair from WrestleMania 24, Shawn Michaels noted how Flair's retirement might not have happened the way it did if social media were prevalent back then, telling Sam Roberts, "I'll say this, I don't know, because I was talking about it earlier, the finish to the match with Ric Flair at WrestleMania 24. Had social media and everything been out there the way that it is now, and you see all those things, I'm not sure I would have had the guts to do that finish with Ric for fear that they would kick it back at us. And I don't mean to ever imply our fans are mean, because in social media they probably won't show you the 15-year-old wrestling fan in them, you know what I mean? They're a bit guarded, but when you're there in the moment and you're there at WrestleMania and you allow us to take you there, they are fine. Grown men are fine whimpering, and oh my goodness, that was beautiful, man. But I just don't know that I would have had the guts to do it, you know what I mean? Had I seen what possibly could have been the other side of it, but that was my concern. I know I'm getting very long-winded on all of these, but way too much goes on in here than it probably should. Speaking of last matches, Kevin Nash said this about his final bout against Triple H from TLC 2011 on his Click This podcast. What do you mean both don't normally have ladder matches? How about never? How about I've never done one in my life? I've got 17 knee operations, and he's running the show, and I get to talk to him for about 8 minutes in the ring before the door opens. That was my last match. Everybody else gets to have a last match. That was mine. F me. Who gives a damn about a sledgehammer? All I know is you got an 18-foot ladder. Guess what? Nobody wins until somebody goes off it, and I wasn't going over. When it comes to Kenny Omega returning to New Japan, it seems he had been pushing for this before it was a done deal, as it was reported that we previously reported about NJPW and WWE working together to get Carl Anderson on Wrestle Kingdom, but now we've learned about AEW's knowledge. Rocky Romero told Fightful that he speaks with Tony Khan quite frequently and filled in Khan about what was going on with WWE and NJPW, and said Khan isn't shy about asking either. He said that Tony Khan understood why it was happening and cool about it. Kenny Omega is finally returning to New Japan, and Romero said that he believes Omega forecast his return to New Japan before it was even a done deal. With him being sidelined from Forbidden Door, Omega did an interview with Fightful and started pushing an angle with Will Ospreay. Romero said he doesn't think that a deal was in place at the time for Omega to return, and he was thinking ahead, but then the conversation happened. Romero also said that the Brawl Out suspension caused a pause because nobody knew what was going to happen. Romero said that New Japan worked with Barry Bloom on making this happen, as well as the Chris Jericho deal when he was in New Japan. Elsewhere, Rocky Romero put over Scott D'Amore heavily for helping bridge the gap between New Japan and Impact after years as well. He said Access will be a big part of NJPW moving forward. Recalling his experiences in WWE's developmental territory, Deep South Wrestling, in 2005, Kenny Omega mentioned to the monthly Puroresu, "I never really did think that I had what it took, but the reason I went to the Harley Race camp in Elgin, Missouri was because it was for an opportunity to be implemented into the dojo system of Pro Wrestling Noah. In the end, I was selected by Johnny Ace to go to WWE instead, and I thought, well, this is a different kind of opportunity. Maybe this is kind of where my destiny is guiding me towards, so I'm not going to ignore it. I did go into the WWE developmental system, Deep South Wrestling, at the time, and it wasn't for me. At that point, I thought maybe wrestling isn't for me because I was thinking at the highest level when it becomes more of a business rather than a passion. Maybe it isn't what made me fall in love with wrestling to begin with." With former NXT Women's Champion Mandy Rose being fired by WWE due to her adult content, it seems she is making bank, as Fan Times official Instagram wrote. "Congratulations to Mandy Rose for making $1 million in a month. Finished 2022 like a champ." Speaking to New Japan's website, former IWGP Heavyweight Champion Okada was asked if he paid attention to wrestlers competing for outside promotions with him, saying, "Not really, no. I think that NJPW is the gold standard, so I think what we want is for other wrestlers from outside to come here and see what it's like to compete against the best." When you look down the line, New Japan wrestlers are being called to these other places because we are the best, so we have to prove to the world that we are still number one by having the reverse happen. The only thing I will say is that you won't see me go elsewhere for a long period. I'll always be representing New Japan. With former NWA World Heavyweight Champion Nick Aldis having a falling out with the management of the National Wrestling Alliance and being suspended for criticizing the company's creative direction, it seems he is now on his own as he told Sportskeeda, "Free agency. That's it, dude. I know it's been suggested. There must be something else. Truthfully, I want to explore free agency. I just want to be free of a contract and a certain brand commitment, a sort of branding of any kind for a minute, and just see what comes next. It was just time to move on, that's all. I have businesses. I have Legacy Sports Nutrition, and we have some other businesses that we are working on. As far as wrestling at this point, I feel like I can deliver wherever. I just love the business and I feel like I can contribute to a pretty high level. But at the same time, if I'm going to spend time away from my son and I'm going to take bumps, I got to be feeling it. It's got to be something that I'm passionate about. I've got to be feeling it. I've got to feel like it's going somewhere." Speaking of Fightful, Will Ospreay touched on his contract situation with New Japan, saying, "It's flattering to know where people want me to show up and where they want me to go. I signed a 5-year deal in 2019, so that will be up next year. My heart says I'll still be with New Japan. I won't lie. I have mad anxiety when it comes to America just because I come from such a small area and America is so big. I've only really dipped my toes into American wrestling. I did my stint with Ring of Honor, but I think I wrestled there maybe 10 times. Kind of like to arrive and leave and not stick around too long." Kurt Angle's ex-wife Karen Jarrett recently took to Twitter to set the record straight on her prior marriage and current one with Jeff Jarrett, as she wrote in a series of tweets, "We can start here. My marriage to Kurt was over long before Jeff and I started seeing each other. We were legally separated at the time Kurt signed with TNA, living in different homes. We got back together, and I tried to get over the affairs among other things that went on in our marriage, but obviously wasn't able. Funny and sad how all of that has been swept under the rug over all these years. Jeff didn't steal me from anyone. Dawn Marie, Kelly, to name a few. I'm done living in fear of speaking the truth. Maybe Kurt will think twice before making threats, insulting / disrespecting my husband. I am done living in fear. I have 24 years of dirt I am ready to start unloading. I am done." Kurt Angle had mentioned his marriage with Karen, which was brought up by Max Caster in AEW. A fan would ask Karen, what threats did he make? Genuine question. All I saw was him saying not to use his name in a storyline 12 years later. Did he say something worse? Karen replied, not online. Those assuming those tweets were in response to another tweet. That is incorrect. Someone dug himself a hole offline. Maybe that will all be shared, maybe it won't. I do know I am done living in fear of the threats. Talking to Metro, Saraya touched on Sasha Banks no longer being a part of WWE, saying, "I love the fact that she took her career into her own hands, and she knows her worth, and she knows she wants to be treated a certain way, and she deserves to be treated that way because she's done a lot for the wrestling business. She's one of the girls that puts butts in seats, and you want to see wrestle, and you want to see main event. She deserves all those things. Wherever she ends up, I'm going to be happy for her, and anyone that gets her is going to be very, very lucky. I just selfishly hope that I get to wrestle her one day. I don't know if she'd want to because she'd probably be scared to wrestle me again." Sticking with Sasha Banks, it seems she is now officially a free agent, with Sean Ross Sapp reporting that Mercedes Varnado is free to take wrestling bookings. Banks would also post a cryptic tweet yesterday which says, "When you take a risk doing what you love, that's exciting. Don't be afraid to start over again. Remember that this time you're not starting from scratch, you're starting from experience." In some unfortunate news, pro wrestling has lost a veteran of the industry as Mike Pappas passed away. John Brazier wrote, "It is with great sadness that I have to inform everyone that Manoli Savinos, aka Mike Pappas, the Flying Greek, has lost his battle with colorectal cancer. I am thankful to have known Manoli and that I was able to get to know his family and admirers through the documentary we made. I'm thankful that I was able to help preserve his life story so generations could hear about his motivating tenacity, powerful work ethic, and his wonderful sense of humor and encouragement. Filmmaking has taken me to places I never knew about, to meet many wonderful people, and allowed me to create lasting friendships. I will always cherish the friendship that bloomed out of filming with Manoli and his family. Manoli was more than just a former world-renowned wrestler. He was a master craftsman, husband, father, grandfather, and friend. On behalf of the crew of the Flying Greek, Flintlock Syndicate, American Wasteland, and Carbon Trace Productions, our thoughts, prayers, and love are with the Savinos family during this difficult time. Check in on, spend time with, and hug your loved ones and friends. We only have one life, and we should make the best of it, work hard, and love harder. Create memories. Much love to you all." And this was your Pro Wrestling News Update. I hope you're all having a great day. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see y'all later.